7 days of solo camping in winter. What could go wrong? Answering to the call of adventure, I plan to conquer the Overland Track, an 80 kilometers 7-day trail in winter alone. I flew into Launceston and chartered a one-way bus ride to take me to Mt Cradle Visitor Centre, where I would then start my hike. While I wait for my bus, I went to the cafe next door to have one last gourmet breakfast before eating just camping food for the next 6 days. The shuttle bus came with other strangers, whom I did not pay much attention to because I was catching a nap to conserve my energy for my hike. However, when I awoke, I wasn't at Cradle Mountain. Instead, I was at Sheffield. Turns out, I was piggybacking a day tour and will only be dropped off midway. I was worried because it was taking away precious daylight hours that I need to hike to my campsite. Sun sets about 5 PM today. In winter, I really don't want to be out and about after sundown. But since it was only about 9 AM, I sat back and enjoyed the free tour. Just when I thought it couldn't get any worse, when we were finally on our way towards Mt Cradle, our bus suddenly stopped. Then the driver announced, "Hi, sorry folks, the road's closed due to ice on the road. Only 4-wheel drives are allowed. Our bus is a 2-wheel drive." So we were sent to wait at a nearby inn while the transport company sent a 4-wheel drive to get us. 2 hours later, a big boy truck came and I finally reached Cradle Mountain Visitor Centre at 12:30 in the afternoon. Only 4.5 hours till the sun goes down, and I haven't even started. I thought maybe it would be better to start the next day instead, but I've approximated that it should only take 4 hours for me to get to my campsite, so I was sure I could do it. Next, I went to the trail check-in counter, at which the lady asked me if I would like to rent a PLB, which is a personal locator beacon. It's a device that can be activated in case of emergency to let rescuers find me, or at least my body. It was $80 with $40 deposit. Being a frugal student back then, I opted out, thinking that I would save the $40. Upon noticing that I was going solo, she advised that I should tag along with the other 2 men who were also signing up at the counter. So I went to ask them, "You guys doing the Overland Track too?" "Yeah. Mind if I tag along?" "Sure thing." Yeah, so that's how I met my companions, Rolly and James. It was a good thing that I tagged along with them, because they would later become my guardian angels, saving me from my lack of preparation and misfortunes. Before we left, she told us that there was a huge blizzard the previous night, which means there would be fresh snow on parts of the trail. It must have been the same blizzard that iced the road. At 1:20 PM, only slightly 3.5 hours till sundown, we finally started our hike. We were on high spirits. I took out my selfie stick and we took out many pictures with a beautiful mountainous winter backdrop while going on a good pace to race the clock. Indeed, there was a blizzard, and must have been a big one, because there was a lot of snow. The fresh snow terrain were treacherous to traverse. We didn't have any snowshoes, so we had to wade through the snow. At some parts, we were plunging our knees deep into the snow, barely following the tip of the trail marker poles buried in the stack of snow. It was a very tough hike for me. We had about 400 meters of elevation to cover. I was exhausted, even before the halfway point. But the snow also made everything very, very beautiful. My companions were much fitter and bigger than I was. Every 2 strides they took, I had to land 3 just to keep up. Luckily for me, James volunteered to be in front. He would be the first to plunge his feet into the snow to find the most stable path for Rolly and I to safely follow through. When we reached the halfway point, Kitchen Hut, it was already 4:30 p.m. And that's when we saw a sign saying, Waterfall Valley Hut, 1 hour. That is the campsite we need to be at the end of the day. So it dawned on us that the 4 hours approximate hiking duration was a summer approximate, and we were hiking in winter. Now, there was no way we would make it by sunset. To even survive today, we would need to push beyond the pace we were at. Otherwise, we might need to activate the PLB, because we don't want to become a human ice sculpture. At some point, we passed by the emergency shelter, where hikers can take cover in times of bad weather. I was so tired, I almost wanted to just give up and then spend the night there. I only pushed on because I didn't want to slow them down or guilt them for leaving me. The last leg to the hut was especially taxing. It was a 200 meters descent down on duck boards, which would have been easy, but with the freshly melting snow, it made the boards extremely slippery. The snow also formed a triangular profile, making the boards impossible to balance on. We ended up just going on all four, tumbling down the slope, bashing through the snow piles. We safely reached Waterfall Valley Hut sometime past 6 p.m. We were extremely exhausted, but just glad that we made it. The winter cold quickly set in, and we cooked our dinner, then called it a night. It was one of the coldest nights, measuring about -7 degrees Celsius at the lowest. Good thing I wasn't out there in the emergency shelter. But this was only the beginning. Subscribe to continue our adventure. See you in part 2!